Hello everyone and welcome back to another WARNO deck deep dive. As today we're gonna go into a division that is not all that popular, but I believe it is getting better again, and it might actually be having something going for it, and that is Berliner Gruppierung. And it was kind of back in December, then the RM70s got nerfed, and now and some of its infantry got nerfed back in the end of last year a bit as well, and now it's in a pretty mediocre spot again. But I think with T55 buffs and a couple of other things, this division actually might have stuff going for it again. So let's jump right in here. Let's start into the logistics tabs, which is a good one. You get a lot of good slots here, and we have good amount of supplies here. T813, great for artillery, URL, and 2 cards of 3 availability SPWs. That's a good amount of CVs, 6 CVs here already. We have 9 CVs in general, so really luxurious here. And then, 3 cards of the supply, that's the good amount as well. Usually you want to go between 2 and 3, and in this one having 3 feels quite great. And then we come to the infantry tab, and that one is a pretty good one as well. It unfortunately got nerfed a bit in the past, when Wachschützen, for example, got slightly more expensive. They are still really strong. 10 hit points, resolute, shock, good RPG, sniper rifle, like this is all quite nice. What this division also has going for it is that the SPW70 is actually a pretty solid little transport as an APC. For an APC, this is one of the better ones, as it has 2 frontal armor and a good MG on top. It's still not an IFV, so that's the problem there. But you get a lot of these, and they're better than the SPW60 with only 1 frontal armor and so on. So that's going nicely for this one. And then you also have the Mordschützen with Strellas, which can help you out with the AA part quite handily on the front lines while still having an RPG. 2 LMGs here, so 8 hit points, standard Mordschützen BTRs, really nice as well with a good RPG. Mordschützen Medis can hold the front line quite nicely as well. It's something where I'm still not quite sure if I want to use the SVD ones instead, but I think the infantry here holds the line quite well already, so fighting against other infantry is not really the issue of this deck, so I'd rather have something that can actually deal with IFVs than another SVD unit here. Leader, KDA Führer not great, but it is cheap and comes in a transport that is lightly armored as well. 6 hit points for 40 points is quite nice, good availability as well. And then the KDA Schützen just here for eating damage. You don't use them as anything to win fights with here in this deck, as they are just really here to soak damage. You don't get good military police in this deck, so the only option being the military Streifen, which are really bad. So the KDA Schützen here, they are not the way to win like in KDA, so we just leave them in here as numbers, as the Wachschützen, Mordschützen do that. Wachschützen RPO, really solid little unit as well, as it has light machine gun and assault rifles, so pretty good DPS there as well for Pioneer unit, and the RPO-A is fantastic as fire support. And then a Concourse here to get some good ATGMs. As we have the Metis here as a bit of a fagot replacement, so this one is not super important. And then we come to artillery, and here, as I said, the RM70, when you could get 4 of those around, this was going pretty well with the infantry. You could just, whenever any armor showed up, just annihilate it with artillery and go around that way. And that doesn't quite work out anymore. And so the new way I found is cheap aggressive artillery from the get-go. The changes in the tank tab help out with this a good bit as well, and that means D30 spam at the start of the game. These things are cheap, and we take them at 2 veterancy, at which point their aim time is super low, and their rate of fire is really great as well. So you can annoy the enemy from the beginning with a really cheap artillery piece that can be repositioned quite nicely. Similar story over here for the 130mm at 1 vet, where you still get 2 availability, and then you can still get some Acacias later to counter battery enemy that tries to counter battery your other artillery or stuff, or just get more guns out there. So really a nice artillery park actually. as the aim time is so low, and you don't really need the mortars. Like, as you can see, this has a lower aim time than mortars, so you can actually smoke faster because the shells land faster than the mortars as well. So, and the D30 here, really nice for the openers, and important to get your T55As, for example, the smoke wall that they want to push on as well. And that comes to the next part, and that is the tank tab. Got a good bit more competitive. And yeah, the only thing that didn't get buffed is the Rapira AT gun. That one is still pretty good though to hold the flank, as the ATGM missile is really helpful and pretty key, as you only get Malyutkas outside of that. Malyutkas still also decently helpful with the good stealth. They can still ambush some things here, and they are cheap and numerous. And then the T55A, they got buffed in rate of fire, and the T055 got high availability, so that goes quite nicely at the beginning of the game. T55A here now at 9 rates per at 2 vet, you still get 16 tanks here out of this. And then the T34 got cheaper as well. And that is kind of a nice makeshift cheap IFV, basically, is what you use this. Like, similar to a BMP1 without ATGM, but is even a slight bit better, I would say. And this deck will also profit from the reservist trait change a bit. KDA Schützen actually don't really profit from it, so that's the only issue there. But the T34s will get a slight improvement out of that, so that one will be interesting, seeing them with a bit lower aim time and reload time. So yeah, we'll see about that. Recon tab is not all that great, but you get some good vehicle options here. I like both the SPW40 and the BRM. I feel like you need something with a bit more speed here in this deck, so that's why I go with the SPW. And very good optics usually are good enough there. The Wachaufklärer, they don't have forward deploy. They are special forces, but they don't have forward deploy, so their capabilities are still somewhat limited, but they can win against smaller infantry squads. And you get a decent number of them. 6 availability there is quite nice. And yeah, normal Aufklärers just do normal Aufklärer stuffs. We take them with the UATs so that we have a bit more availability for recon units. And then we come to the A tab, and because we have the Strela already on our Mordschützen, you can go full on guns in this one. The Coupe obviously for the long range, Shilka for the pushes, and then the ZU and the ZPU for the forest fights. And these things are really cheap, so they can be really helpful in forest fights to help out your infantry dealing with enemy infantry. And you get so many of them, and that really makes this good fire support. And pushing forward, helicopters obviously get killed off on a side there as well, so getting on top of your infantry is with the Strelas, and is kind of impossible with that. And that means the enemy has to deal with you with tanks. Issue is that you struggle a good bit against that already, against tanks and IFVs, but yeah, the strength of this deck gets even stronger thanks to these guns here in the A tab. Helicopters, they have a lot of rockets. That is the good thing here. The Rocket 2 can get a lot of rockets onto target, as they also all put next to each other, so they fire at the same time. And then the DPS here is pretty okay. You get 2 cards of those, which is nice. It's not the greatest helicopter ever, but it does its job pretty well, and you can killing off some IFVs with it as well. It's just that then the supply costs start to eat up quite quickly, so yeah, you better get the logistics trucks out there if you try to shoot up vehicles with this. So that is more so for the air tab, where we got some Su-22s with cluster and AT. Got a couple of MiG-21s here. The one with the R60, R13 is a bit better than the one with the R60, as it can fire from a bit further away and has 5 damage. So if you get 2 on target there, you could get a kill. You need 3 on target of the R60s. Lower availability, the lower accuracy is annoying, but it is kind of okay. We have both our fire and forget here, so nothing super special. And then the L39 here, this one has actually pretty good bombs. So if you realize that you killed the enemy AA, or the enemy doesn't have a setup for it, you can drop one of these early on. 2 500 kilogram bombs, they can kill off or damage units really nicely. So that goes in quite nicely as well. So yeah, let's talk about this division in its current form. What does it got? On the pro side, it has good infantry. It has good cheap tanks. And it has decent fire support. Like the artillery, the helicopter, the air is good in the support role. What it doesn't get is any IVs, any long range guns. Like you don't get anything at max range. And you also don't get forward deployment. So that's a mix of 3 really important things in the game that this deck doesn't get. So how do you play it? You play it by a lot of speed. You just try to overwhelm the enemy with at some weak spots, and on some maps this is kind of impossible, but the current map pool allows for this a good bit more, like setting up some big forced pushes, setting up some good artillery early on some valuable targets, and having a good T55A plop that can go places quite nicely once more. So yeah, well, you will see that in the next video. If you don't want to miss that, consider subscribing down below. And thank you all for watching. Thanks to the channel members who joined lately. It's good to see that going on as well. Much appreciating all the support here, guys. And yeah, see you all in the next one. Bye bye, and have a great day.